Hello again, everyone, and good existence to you. It is I, the zippiest zap this side of the multiverse. It's Vet, back again with another episode of the Quiet Palace podcast, where great legends prevail and evil wanes to dust. I hope you've all been doing well, and I hope that my more recent string of content has been intriguing for all of you. Today we're going to expand on a concept we discussed last week on the second episode of Quicken the Silence. We talked about companions and familiars, and at one point I expanded on the idea that companions should have a fleshed out stat sheet with its own unique and intriguing abilities. I know we're not here to play Pokemon, or at least if we are, then we're sort of on the right track, but I have my sights set on the concept of having a useful or beneficial companion that gives us a little more options than what a spell can conjure. Our focus is on making a unique individual that can help the party in ways their abilities might not cover. For those of you that have drawn a very specific card out of the deck of many things, these concepts can be easily applied to a humanoid entity or another NPC follower. The ECL format is meant to let the creature do cool stuff without outperforming the party. I dubbed this concept the Enhanced Companion Lite. Players may pitch a follower concept to a DM, or perhaps they fall in love with a kooky character they have come across in your world, and they want to take their new mascot with them on their adventures. Perhaps a DM plans an adventure with an old friend the party would love to see again, or they just want to help them in their adventure without having to create a DM NPC. For those unaware, a DM NPC is a player character controlled by the Dungeon Master of the group. I do come across many people who dislike the idea, and some who are totally fine with it. It can be hard to manage. Some players don't like it because the DM is the one that knows everything and has to be careful with their character, as to not reveal anything that character, or perhaps just the party, should not know. With a little planning and the okay from the rest of the group, I see no issues with DM NPCs, but I definitely understand why people disagree with them. If your group is at least okay with you having fun with a joke-cracking imp or a whimsically happy ooze, then the Enhanced Companion Lite, or ECL for short, is the tool for you. To craft an ECL, we have to start with a blank template for a monster stat block. How powerful should your monster be? Well, I use the stat block of a monster whose challenge rating is 2, usually 3 levels before your party's total level. I would limit your monster's CR rating to a quarter at level 1, 1/3 at level 2, a half at level 3, and CR 1 at level 4. Also, we can keep the proficiency bonus of the creature the same as the party so that their skills and abilities can match that of the party better. With the same party of level 4s, a brown bear is one of the options that comes to mind. Brown bears can deal 19 damage in the course of one round on average if they land their bite and claw attack. They are also able to sniff out enemies with their strong nose and endure various attacks with their thick hide. If we want to keep the pace and advance our companion's abilities alongside the party, we can find similar creatures of new challenge rating thresholds as your party levels up. The creature might be suitable for new abilities or upgrades to their existing ones. Maybe new attacks are available for them. Maybe just more attacks on their turn, or even spells that this companion might be able to cast. As long as it doesn't greatly exceed normal thresholds of damage or add too many complex descriptions or mechanics. Well, you gotta remember, we're not trying to outperform the party. Sometimes the dice roll that way, but it's certainly not the intent. How often you may want to advance their power level is up to you. I don't see a problem with keeping it a whole number and rounding whichever way feels right. I feel like rounding down is the safer bet, so that's what I'm going to state for the record. I typically start with what the creature should have to begin with in regards to senses, stats, abilities, etc. For our brown bear, that's a strong nose, our hulking figure, and our devastating attacks. ECLs will have 3 abilities they can use from the beginning. One pertains to damage, the other pertains to defense, and the last ability focuses on support in forms of healing or suitable precautions. These abilities have charges that take time to regain, and it may take a long rest to regain the most useful ones, or perhaps a short rest to gain the less impactful ones. Some may not require time to recharge in your eyes, and that's okay as well, as long as it makes sense to do so. Our brown bear can attack twice a turn if he focuses on using his action and bonus action to do so, but that requires the use of the Heavy Onslaught ability, if I'm coining things on the fly here. He will otherwise be unable to attack twice a turn. and instead can use his frightening roar to intimidate foes, or even use his healing lick ability to restore the health of your party members. We'll say the brown bear is magical, perhaps once a cleric, true polymorphed into a bear, and maintained the ability to use what divine power they still possess. I'll explain 3 different examples of an ECL that are based off of some monster in the D&D books, and a form of ECL concept using the creature's capabilities for reference with the goal of creating something unique and beneficial to the party. First is our fun-loving ooze, Spoonple. A yellow blob which bears a glitter-filled aura that surrounds his viscous form, capable of some common speech despite possessing a moderate vocabulary. An ochre jelly would serve as a comparison, being of the same creature type and a CR2 creature for a party of level 5s. We will definitely be changing some things though. Our ooze is medium or small sized, up to you. It has an acid resistance, immunities to various conditions like prone or charm, and it also has dark vision, not to mention the ability to climb or squeeze through 1-inch wide spaces. Its pseudopod attack will deal 12 damage on average per round, but it has an offensive ability that forces a Constitution saving throw on a target hit by Spoomple's attacks. If they fail, they suffer 2d6 acid damage at the start of their turn before the effect ends. Ideally, this ability, which we'll dub as Acidic Residue, should have 3 expendable uses per long rest, scaling the amount of uses to the creature's proficiency bonus. It is able to generate a healing spray that can heal up to 3 creatures within 30 feet for 2d6 plus 3 health points as an action, or 1d6 plus 3 health points as a bonus action. You have 6 total charges of this ability between long rests. Using the action costs 2, the bonus action 1. In later levels, Spoonple could regain 2 charges of this ability once per day if he spends an action to do so. Keeping it simple, we'll call it the Healing Spray ability. Its last notable ability would be Wall Formation. Spoonple takes the shape of a wall and solidifies his form for a time, offering 3/4 cover from ranged attacks while you're oriented appropriately. Attacks would go against Spoonple instead, but his AC in this form would be 19, and while in this form, he is resistant to all forms of damage except force damage. Its AC would typically be 11 in its normal form. If Spoonple falls unconscious or dies, he reverts back to his original form, and it can use this ability once per short rest. But that's the basics behind the jiggly anomaly that is Spoonple. Next is a wise guy, joke-cracking imp named Torald. With yellow and bulbous eyes, skin like granite, and horns like onyx, this odd-looking imp is capable of espionage, spy work, and some decent utility thanks to an odd trinket he carries with him. We will be using the imp stat block as per the norm, but giving him access to trinkets that help create certain effects for a couple of different purposes. Some things to note are that imps can see 120 feet across in the dark, and can see through magical darkness. They also have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. He's good at lying, or telling if you're lying, alongside his persuasion and stealth skill proficiencies. He is resistant to cold damage and non-silvered or non-magical weapon damage. His AC would be 13 like a typical imp on a side note. Of course, fire and poison do nothing to imps, and they certainly can't be poisoned. And, as I'm sure you're aware, Torald can fly up to 40 feet in one turn, making him fairly mobile on top of everything else. Torald will have access to a small sack made of royal purple silk with some gold threading that holds what looks like a bright red powder inside. If Torald blows the powder onto a creature, that creature can breathe it in to receive one of 3 benefits. The sack refills with sand once Torald completes a short rest. These benefits will be as follows. The creature adds 1d4 to their saving throws for 6 hours, or the creature can receive the benefits of the Cure Disease or Remove Curse spell at its base level, or the creature becomes invisible for 1 hour, or until they attack or cast a spell. Normally, imps aren't the kind to help folks from the kindness of their heart. It's just not in an imp's typical moral compass. That being said, a debt or the orders of an infernal master might drive them to fight alongside you. Since this creature has a lot of capabilities on its own and will be decent in combat and various other situations, I think going with some utility-based features is more suitable considering Torald will be scaling his attacks and skill proficiencies alongside the party. It would also allow him to acquire power in his own way, and deny the influences of Bautor, becoming something else or perhaps just a really powerful imp. All of these things are acceptable. And that's it for our wisecracking bag of tricks. Hopefully he doesn't rope you into any deals that are too serious. I'd stay away from signing that one's contracts, whether he's a friend or not. So for the third example, I'm going to face my fears a little bit. I'll admit it, I'm scared of spiders. They freak me out. Too many long, very long legs. Too many eyes, and their movement is, unsettling. Perhaps that's what gives them an advantage in some cases, though. And so I bring you Vice, a giant wolf spider, a veteran of many confrontations from others of her kin, and now, your friend. Enjoy. This is not a web-weaving species of spider, however, and so as you can imagine, stealth and patience are her specialties. I went back and forth from the giant wolf spider and giant spider stat blocks to determine damage output, health, and stats to what best suits Vice. Wolf spiders are medium beasts. That's right, it at least goes up to, the average person's waist or bigger. You understand why I'm having trouble with this one? Yeah. Okay. These beasts are perceptive and shadow-like in moments requiring stealth. They have blind sight, dark vision as good as an elf's, and decent passive perception. As I mentioned before, we use the proficiency bonus the party has for this creature, plus we have to upscale this creature's capabilities considering we're buffing it from a quarter level of CR to a CR level 1. All stats included, we'll say a total of passive perception maybe 16, and a stealth bonus of 9 if we act like Vice has expertise in stealth, which in my opinion would make sense. Vice is able to bite, dealing damage and forcing a saving throw that deals poison damage. Should that poison damage bring anyone that should be making death saves down to 0 HP, they are stable but poisoned for 1 hour. Whether or not they're healed, they're still poisoned, and while poisoned in this way, you're paralyzed. When it comes to our 3 core abilities, we'll sack one of them to allow this ability to remain. It's pretty powerful and worth keeping. In regards to the 3 core abilities we shall give this creature, the bite alone seems pretty strong, so we'll find ways to use it. The first ability would be Subtle Pounce. If the enemy is within 15 feet of Vice, she's able to quickly pounce on them from where she's standing as an action, and she can make her bite attack with advantage. That ability can be used once per short rest. The second ability would be Defensive Stance. Until the start of her next turn, Vice can use an action to cause creatures that move into a 5-foot distance from Vice at any point in her defensive stance to be subject to an opportunity attack that does not require a reaction. An action that is fairly reasonable cost as it is, and it's a niche ability that can be easily countered with ranged attacks and smart positioning from your opponent, so we won't put charges on it. In later levels, one last ability shall be that she can innately cast Misty Step up to 3 times between long rests, ensuring that she will not be as easy to keep in place for your enemies. We'll also give her an AC of 14. On a final note, if you're wondering how to do health for an ECL when you're advancing their CR level, ergo all of your new thresholds, feel free to use the dice your reference monster uses for random HP assignments. You could advance them as if they were a character of the same level as your party, where we use one of the reference monster's health die per level, which for Vice would add up to about 4d8 plus 12 if your party is level 4. With average rolls, this turns into around 30 HP. The 12 is the Constitution bonus added alongside every simulated level. So the averages for the other 2 examples at level 4 would be as follows: 15 for Torald and 38 for Spoonbull. That's about all I really had to say in regards to making a more interactive and unique follower for your D&D 5e games. I hope this concept and the aforementioned examples have inspired you to pursue similar avenues for those with the grounds to test it or even pull it off. I understand there are a lot of people who agree that the DM should just not add any unnecessary involvement, considering they already have enough characters to act out. Though I do believe there is a suitable environment for a healthy form of DM involvement on the player's side of the campaign, it is something I don't believe is appropriate for every table though. This is a concept for those that are willing to involve their DM in the story they run in this fashion, and this episode at large is who that is meant for. Let me know in the comments if you've given this concept a try for yourself, and how it went. I'm curious about different takes on the use of the follower situation. But anyways, I hope your existence has been peaceful and abundantly generous since last we spoke. As always, if the sky is gray, but the breeze is gentle, the quiet palace shall be nearby.